Alright, this is a video showing my buddy Ed Muno's Lamiglass Triflex rod. I put the first coat of epoxy on the guides, and they're coming along nicely. Still needs a little work, you know. There's always sometimes you get like a little thread pops out, or there could be something on. Like if you look at this one, you'll see a couple little imperfections, and that's normal for a first coat. Sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. I never really worry much. What you want to do is make sure you put on a nice thin coat, and when it dries tomorrow, I'll go back with the little razor. I'll take off any high spots and get it smooth, and then I put on the final coat and it'll look great. You know, there's so much you can do with epoxy. Here is the an example of epoxy I like to do sometimes between the foregrip and the reel seat. I was able to put a little channel in here, and now I've come back with epoxy. It's a nice strong bond. And then on the back where his gimbal is going to be, I've got some epoxy. It's rolling right now. You see there's a couple air bubbles. I'll warm it up and they'll make their way out, and again, that's going to be very strong in the back. That's the overall look at the moment. Down here is another Lamiglass Triflex rod. I'm going to be epoxying this one. This is that spiral wrap that I had spoken about. This is going to be fill spiral wrap, and I'm going to be epoxying this one with like a marbled effect. I'm going to be using green, yellow, and red with black effects on it to mimic the popular Rasta look that seems to be popular these days. And then down over here is a third Lamiglass Triflex rod. This too is spiral wrap. This is in for a customer who had me change out his grip. What I had here was like a shrink wrap style grip. I was able to remove that, get an EVA foam foregrip, and put that underneath, so when you feel it, it's got like a really nice grip. This is going to be used generally in the fall for blackfishing, so the grip is you can really grab it, get your fingers in there. If you have a glove, you can get it around there as well, so that's nice. I bring it in really nice and tight to the reel seat. I'll put a little bit of epoxy. There's a little bit of contact cement glue. I'll clean that before I put the epoxy. I just put a little bit of acetone around it, because you can see the seat's kind of dirty. I won't give it back to the customer like that. And then what I did for the transition here, I built up with some thread. This is going to be just straight out black, and then I'm going to put the epoxy here and float the epoxy, and then build it with the second coat right up towards the seat, so it has a real flawless look to it. That's what we're up to today, and I will be sure to show a second coat on Ed's rod, the finished product, and then on Phil's rod below, which is going to be pretty cool. That's going to be or 2 or 3 step process to make sure it's completed. It's also important, you might wonder why I'm using a rod wrapper. I use a combination rod wrapper dryer. Now on Ed's rod on the top, again, this is not a brand new blank. This is a blank that he's had for I believe 3 years. It's caught a lot of big fish on it, and for that he wanted to switch out the guides and change it. The finish was completely gone on the outside, and there was a lot of rusting on the Black Fuji guides where the reel seats meet the blank. Anyway, why do I use the dry lathe on this one? Because the age of the rod, he has a slightest bit of a bend, even though we've splined it and changed the reel seat and everything. What happens is when you go to do the finish epoxy work, this blank right here, if it's moving like just slightly, which is why I Another reason why I have a slat board on the back, I'll always use that as a guide. So if you look at his rod, you see it is not moving up and down on that slat board. It's perfectly level, and that's why it's imperative to have a drying setup like this, particularly if you're going to be restoring older rods, because none of them are going to be true. And when you set up with the epoxy work and that rod is moving and it's not perfectly level, what happens is there'll be a difference in your guides here. There's a nice lit one, you can see it. So when you look at it, you can see they're nice and level. There's going to be a couple of imperfections that get worked out, but the most important thing is that epoxy is drying level, and then you come back on it with the razor. Of course, if this was a second coat, this would be completely unacceptable, but second coats always are going to look like glass. And that's it. That's the reason why we use this, and I hope you learned something today. Thanks a lot, Mark, Cal Harbor. Have a great day.